Okay, good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene, and it is between Christmas and New Year's, and I don't have a heck of a lot to talk about, but I do have a pile of ironing. So I thought I'll talk to you while I'm doing the ironing. But also, I'm not sure this is going to work. Let me see. Steve is putting away the turkey. So we both have big jobs. Look at that. Ugh, if you're vegan, turn away. Ugh, that makes me just sick.
Except if you eat it.
I do eat it. We're both just in the kitchen. It's it's a foggy day actually. And we both just have these jobs that really can't be ignored anymore because this is my favorite. Well, it's not my favorite, but it's one of my favorite sweaters. And it was in the bottom of a box, not folded very well. And so I need to sort of press it a little bit. I know the knitters out there will go, oh, no, you're ironing. And I'm going to go, yeah, it's the only way it's going to happen. Now, if I have to wet and block, that usually happens, well, it doesn't usually happen. It sometimes happens when I finish the sweater, but it depends on how keen I am to actually get it on my body. So anyways, I decided that in the interest of just trying to multitask, and talk about things book-wise, I need to also iron. So I hope your reading adventures over Christmas did go well. It's time where some people can really hunker down and get a lot of reading done, and that's the case here for the most part. We are able to get a fair amount of reading done, but in an amazing I don't know, trend, or I don't know what it is that it actually should be called, but it's just an amazing number of books in a row have been so boring and so underwhelming and so disappointing. And I had all these hopes for the Prince Award that I would be able to get their back, what I hadn't read in the backlists. I just get caught up with that, and the Prince is an award that is pretty reliable for me, and I just thought, okay, well that will be fun. I'll just get those books and sit down and work through them, and I'll have something to talk to you guys all about. But book after book after book, it was just like I don't want to keep going. I don't want to keep going, and it wasn't that they were bad books. It's just that they were completely uninteresting to me. And one of them was a book in verse, and I do have them here. Let me see. But I'm not going to put them in the information below because that just takes too much time. Salt the Water by Candace Ilhoh, Ilhoh, is a book in verse. Young girl, I would say, maybe coming to the end of her high school year. I couldn't tell whether she was in her final year or just in her final year of being able to tolerate being in school. It was unclear. Anyways, it was in verse, and she was completely disillusioned with one of the teachers and the inane comments that he made. And the thing is that so much of the education at that point in the book is just being taught in order to meet the standards of what's going to be on the test, which is going to be what gets the kids to college applications and so on. And instead of having any kind of real intellectual rigor about what they're reading, it's all about not pushing the boundaries. It's about accepting the boundaries. And so is this a metaphor for life? I think that's the question the girl was asking. Like, how long do I have to tolerate these inanities? And if this is what it's going to be like at college, what is the point? And so, fair questions. But her dispiritedness just permeated everything. And I just thought, I don't know about you guys, but I'm just kind of tired of being dispirited with my characters. So it's a sign that the author's done a good job in that I'm feeling her distress, I'm feeling her ennui, but I don't want to continue participating in it. So I let that one go. And that one was one I thought would be pretty good. Another one called Gather, which I thought would also be fairly good, by Kevin M. Cadow was the best of the group. And it's about a dog, except that it isn't about a dog. It's about a boy who has found a dog and has named the dog Gather. Mom is working her way in and out of drug addiction, and he's working his way trying to survive in fairly deep poverty, hunger, underclothed, certainly undersupported. But as the book goes through, we are seeing more and more people sort of coming to his aid. It's a hopeful book, except it just takes forever. And for a book that doesn't, sort of move from point A to point B quickly, there wasn't a ton of characters. There weren't a ton of setting opportunities. It was just him kind of mulling things over and over and over, and did the fatal flaw. One of my 3 pet peeves is telling you, getting you set up in the story, and you think, okay, now we're going to find something out, and then the author actually says, I'll tell you about it later. No, you won't, honey. I've left the room. So, anyways, I did kind of finish it. I ended up having to skip a lot, but that was the best of the lot. And so on my pile here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books. I did finish another one called, and those 9 books are just, yeah, they're either did not finish or 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3. And, I don't usually, as a rule, bring to you guys the books that I find off-putting or what have you. It's kind of a waste of both our times if it's a book that I can't recommend to you. And unless it's a book that I find is really currently popular and I have another opinion on it, like Birnam Wood. Did I talk to you guys about Birnam Woods? Oh my God. It's one of the popular ones, and one of the things I've been doing to get through to, making my next round of videos for you guys is I've been checking other people's bests of, and just to see if there's any kind of overlap. I don't tend to do that myself, to do the bests of. I figure if you've been watching the videos all year long, I already told you. So we don't need to. You're not stupid. I don't have to talk down to you like that. And if it's the worst books that I've ever read, I haven't told you about them. So again, why waste your time? So, but in the efforts of wasting my own time, I did go look at a few. And a number of people had Birnam Woods as one of their top 10s. No. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I won't talk about that because it was a book that I really don't want to recommend. But another one is the Sisters.
Sister Brothers.
The Sister, it does have an S on the end. The Sisters Brothers. So there's these two brothers. Their last name is Sisters. And it's in a Western, and it's Patrick DeWitt, who a lot of people really love. I did read his other book.
French Exit.
What did you say, sir?
French Exit.
French Exit, which, was peculiar enough that on the one hand it was it was interesting because of its peculiarity, and it did have some problems with it in terms of my personal aesthetics. But in terms of it being an interesting book, it was an interesting plot. So everybody else is going, oh, Patrick DeWitt, let's read him. So this is for my book club with Jolene, Bookworm Adventure Girl, and it's due in January. We're going to talk about it. Side note, I picked it up in November and not realized to put it at the bottom of the book because I didn't have to read it till January. I didn't want to read it too early. And so the library has got a bounty hunt on me as I get this book back before we charge you the full price for it. So I read it madly in the last 2 days, and I don't get it. It's in CBC, I think, top 150 books to read, classic Canadian books.
It's a movie.
Pardon me?
It's made into a movie.
Yeah, Steve says it was made into a movie. I can see it as a movie. I can see it as a movie because all that happens is these guys ride from someplace. I don't know where they start. They ride from someplace on a mission to go kill some guy, and along the way, they just kill lots of other people. They're on horseback. They've got guns. They're gunslingers. They treat the women badly. The one guy, he's been on this kind of a lifestyle for ages and ages. Yet he seems to not be able to recognize the difference between a prostitute who's just being completely, by circumstances, being turned into a horrible person because her circumstances are terrible, or, you know, the average housewife. So he falls in love with them all. And they all, don't treat him very well. That's the author. Not the author, I'm sorry, the narrator is Eli. And his brother Charlie is completely amoral. It seems how they come by their amorality, we kind of get a sense of, and why they chose this gunslinging life, we don't get a sense of. And why they have to just kill randomly in between. Why Charlie can't just, hold his temper from time to time and not shoot innocent people, we don't really know. There were many instances where, I don't know, he could have conked someone on the head and just moved on, but no, he preferred to just shoot people and solve his problems that way. I thought it was a terrible book. It's supposed to be funny. I don't get that kind of humor. There's what's so funny about shooting people? They keep getting into these scrapes. So I could see that a good director could turn the scrapes with the prostitutes and the people in the forest that they kill and that kind of thing. I could see that someone with a good wry sense of humor and an understanding of satire would be able to pull it off. But in terms of just reading it, I don't see the satire. I also don't see the play up on the westerns, and because, any western I've ever read, there does tend to be a lot of people dying. So, there's a funny horse. The horse is pretty hilarious. I don't know. It just didn't ring for me. So sometimes I wonder whether the books that go on the Canadian lists, whether they're there just because they happen to be the next book that a Canadian author wrote one good book, and there they are, they've written a second good book, and so it just goes onto the list. Like, has anybody actually taken a close look at Alice Munro, for instance? Carol Shields. Steve's waving in the background. Don't go there, don't go there.
It's boring.
I'm boring or they're boring?
Those
authors are boring?
Yeah, no, yes.
Oh, yeah. Is there any discernment in that process? So in the interest of trying to come up with something that I would like to read for the new year, as I say, I went through some of these lists. One was a British person's, sort of a fairly reliable British YouTuber, and they had done a couple of wrap-ups in terms of the 10 best mysteries or the 10 best spooky books and stuff, and so I got a couple of suggestions there, but that's more in the classic side of things, and I'm not sure how sometimes the classic really works and sometimes it doesn't, but I'm not burning to read those books. I just know that if I do read them, they'll be pretty reliable. And what do you think of this jacket? Like, isn't that just the best fabric? I made it myself. And I love it. It's my second favorite winter sweater. Okay, so where was I? Okay. Now I also went back in time to Jolene, Bookworm Adventure Girl. She's one of my standard people that I go to. And she did, I spoke about it in the past, and if I remember, I will link it in the doobly-doo below, but she did best Canadian books in the 20th century, I can't remember what the years were. Anyway, I'll link it and you can watch it. So I went back to that list and I thought, okay, well, one of the things, these have been voted by Canadians about Canadian books, and I know that there are other booktubers that are doing the voting, so it's not from a publisher, it's, honest opinions. So I went back, and surprisingly, I had either vetoed maybe 10 books, just because, I don't know, probably it was Alice Munro. Or Carol Shields. So there was about 12 books that I thought, okay, I can add that to my list for 2025. And some of them look interesting, and some of them will probably just be space fillers. If I'm having a month where I just don't know what to do, I'll call those up from the library. So that was about 12 books that I'm looking forward to in the new year. The other thing I did, it was received as a Christmas present, is a magazine called Bookmarks. And if it's available in Canada, there's nothing hard about achieving that magazine to look at. But it is for sure American publishing. And nothing wrong with that, but it's very sort of monoculture, I guess. Or mono-publishing. I know it doesn't have a wide range. And out of that whole magazine, I came up with 4, and the books that I thought, okay, they might be worth reading. And I guess that sounds pretty prideful, doesn't it? That I can look at the entire month of November and December of the American publishing industry and go, you've only got 4. Whoa, that's very prideful on my part, but yeah, I'm the one paying for the books, so they better entertain me. Anyhow, these 4 that I ended up choosing were based on the fact they were the least heart-crushing, soul-rendering kinds of books, and that didn't mean that they didn't contain content that was going to be, a little bit upsetting. Okay, so I don't remember what I was talking about. My mother phoned. Steve had to fill up the big pot with water because now he's making turkey stock, which keeps us going all winter, sometimes into the summer, depending. And like his turkey, it's amazing. It's very good. He's such a good cook. I mean, if you guys could see or taste his stuffing, you would all go to his recipe. It's amazing. So anyhow, what were we talking about?
You were dissing the Bookmarks magazine.
Steve says I was dissing the Bookmark magazine. I'm not dissing it. I'm just saying that, I know better than the publishing industry.
You were dissing American publishing.
Yeah. If they really want to know what to publish, I keep telling them, just give me a call and I will sort out their problems. So one of the, I think maybe mistakes I made in the last couple of days was trying to figure out what my goals were going to be for the new year. And if you ever tune in on a January video, you'll know that I am really not a goal maker. I just struggle to get through my to-do list on a daily basis, never mind long-term aspirations. My idea of long-term aspirations is remembering to shower a couple times a week, It's like just not... So, I was thinking back on it, and I thought, yeah, I did have a couple of aspirations last winter, but they were the kind of thing that I didn't have to have a time frame involved, and one of them was to sort out the area behind where I do the filming, just to make it a little neater and a little more interesting and sort the lighting out. And so I did accomplish that. And I did have 3, and I accomplished 2 of the 3, and I forgot the 3rd. And as I'm telling you the story, I'm thinking, what was the second one? It had something to do with reading. Gone. So that's why I just don't set goals. They're not something that I spend a lot of time attached to. I mostly just try and respond to the moment. But there, oh, I know what it was. Helen Humphrey. I wanted to finish all of Helen Humphrey that year, and I did. So I'll be talking about that in the new year. So that's one goal for the new year, is to wrap up Helen Humphrey as an author until she publishes the next thing, which I can't wait. And I don't, like I say, I don't remember what the third thing was. So for this new year coming, I don't have any significant aspirations, and I recommend it. It's like, don't do anything like super crazy, because either it's going to drive you mental for months until you finally come to the awareness that that's really never going to happen. Just, love the problem. I don't know what your problem is, but just, like kind of learn to live with it, because I mean, if you're someone who's chronically late and there's reasons for it, it's just like, give up, just be late. Just let everybody know, I'm going to be late. So, or, like if you're trying to read more books, well, here's a solution. Read smaller books. Just like, or don't do, there's someone that I follow, she's doing the, what's her name? Miss Reads a Lot. She's a lovely lady. She's a really great YouTuber. And she's doing the 1001 books you should read before you die. And she had several things happen to her over the course of the year that just sort of prevented her reaching her goals. And she was distressed about it. And I thought, well, I don't know how to be sympathetic, because they all sound like horrible books. It's like over and over. You go, oh, I don't know. And why did I finish that book? And I'm thinking, if you're a completionist and you've decided to read 1001 books and you cannot not read the book because that's your personality, you've set yourself up for 1001 books that you might not like, and what a waste of reading time. So I don't know. I just don't want those kinds of problems in my life. I do have too many book clubs, and I'm interested to see how one of them is going to morph. They've said they don't want to read the young adult books anymore. They want to switch to literature, adult literature, romance, fantasy, sci-fi, and then in a nod to the literature, I guess, we can also read some lit books, literature books. And what that is comprised of, I don't know. So I think that's how I got onto this whole thing. In order for this choosing to work, each person has to submit 3 choices, like 3 romance choices, 3 sci-fi fantasy choices, 3 mysteries choices, and 3 lit choices. And that's 12 books that I have to find by the end of January. So that means just a whole lot of deep diving into places where it's kind of like having to go into Goodreads and just read what Goodreads is recommending. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do that. I treat Goodreads as an encyclopedia. If someone recommends a book, then I will go to Goodreads and I will double check and see whether, based on their description, the publisher's description, I'll try and decide, well, is that really something I want to read? But I don't go to Best of Goodreads or Best of Romance or any of that kind of business. I guess I'm more of an organic reader. And I seem to rely somewhat on what's happening in the BookTube world, but tend not to follow people who are just in one genre. I tend to follow people who are reading in multiple genres, and so occasionally a nonfiction will rear its head, or a classical or something like that will rear its head, and I'll follow that bunny trail. But no, I tend not to follow like just romance booktubers. So how am I going to come up with 12 suggestions? And my concern about this particular change is that this is reflecting the ideas of the two people who are the organizers. It's fine, they're doing all the hard work. But I think it is for sure based on what they want to talk about. Because I'm pretty sure that over many, many months and years, that the statement, I don't really read romances, has come up multiple times. I don't think they're hearing it. And not just me, like I'm not the only one who says that, because I will read a romance from time to time, but not exclusively. But there are other people who have said, no, I don't really read mysteries, or I don't really read romance. And I think what they're saying is they are willing to read one if it's particularly interesting or a little bit unusual. And I'm thinking of The Maid. That was one that I think that book club read and enjoyed it because it was a little bit out of the norm and it wasn't part of a series. So anyhow, I don't know where we're going to end up with that. I've sort of had this feeling, or this small idea developing, that I think what I would like to do is spend more time in used bookstores doing my shopping. Well, I love Bookmark, and there'll be books that I will buy. That's my local bookstore. It's also called Bookmark, and so I love to buy books from them. But one of the pieces that I do have to recognize, and I am prepared for, is that our budget for disposable income is going to drop considerably in the next 5 months, and then for various reasons, and then Steve goes into retirement, and I have no idea what our budget is going to be like at that point. You know, I've said to him, oh, you don't have to tell me, just give me the end number and I will just live within our means, which I haven't been doing for the last 2 years. It's been a blast. Oh my goodness, it's just been so much fun to go in and run up the credit card on books. I've just really enjoyed that. So if I'm going to do that more, like continue to do that, I think I better do it in a used bookstore where, you know, for $25, instead of getting one new book, I can maybe get 2.5 or something like that. So I do have a goal of reducing my spending significantly, and I do have a goal of trying to use used bookstores. Now in Halifax, there's really only one, and it's a fairly curated one. I haven't been in since they opened it. It was okay. It was all right, but it's not an amazing used bookstore. And then there's another one out by Exit 5, which has cats. So that's always fun because, you know, I pay attention to their Instagram, and so she will quite often say, oh, there's going to be new cats coming. So if I want to, I can time my visits out there to the arrival of whatever new cats they have. And that's part of with the SPCA program, that these kitty cats of whatever ages will go to hopefully foster homes. No, not foster homes. That's the foster home. They will go to a new permanent home. So sometimes the kitty cats are given a break, you know, like there's too many people coming to see the cats. And you can have a cup of coffee. Anyways, it's a nice little place. And then, where's the other one? There's one in Dartmouth that we've been meaning to get to. It used to be downtown Halifax, and it moved to Dartmouth, and it is not easily accessible by bus. And so it's a real outing. And I think that's it, which is kind of crazy, because when we were traveling across Canada, every time we stopped, there was almost always a used bookstore or a bookstore that was a combination new and used, which I think is the best combo. But in the used bookstores, I have this idea that I think I'm going to try and go through authors' backlists, because I just, like I was saying about bookmarks, there's just nothing really captivating on the horizon for new releases, and I just really do not want to be dragged down in misery in my reading. That's just, it is an escapist situation, and I don't need to be updated every book about whatever horrible thing is happening, climate or refugees or abuse or cancer, abandonment, dog cruelty. It's like it just goes on, and I'm just, I don't know, has anybody brought anything really new to those topics? Do I really have to endure them over and over again? But at the same time, I think I moaned about this a little while ago, was that kind of leaves you in the realm of romance. Well, you know, I'm in a 40-year marriage. I think it is actually 40 years this year. Romance looks a whole lot different. Romance looks like we help each other down the steps when it's icy. And it looks like knowing where each other's glasses are. That's a romantical thing you can do for your partner, is pay attention to where their glasses are. Romance is paying attention to if the cream is going down, you know, and they're like saying something kind, like, I think you're going to run out of cream in a day or two. They'll go, oh, thank you, like, I really appreciate that, that's so nice of you. There's no flowers involved in that. There's no chocolate involved. There could be chocolate if you go with them to the store to buy the cream, and then you buy yourself a chocolate bar while you're there. But, you know, there's no chocolate involved. What else isn't involved in romance in a 40-year marriage? Romantic dinners. So that's another reason I don't want to read romance. Things like, you know, going away on getaways. The romance is going to be the person who doesn't have Montezuma's Revenge is getting toilet paper. That's... I don't know what a romance looks like anymore. It's all a mystery. Well, I think that's the end of my chat for today. Really, now I'm just carrying on like a fool. And the turkey is all on the stove. He's going to start that stock's going to take a couple of hours. I have a couple more shirts to read, and a couple more shirts to read, a couple more shirts to iron, and edit this video. So I hope that you have a pleasant time between now and New Year's, and I will see you. You know what? I think my birthday is on a Wednesday, not a Tuesday. So I will see you in January Tuesday, but on Wednesday for my birthday. I'm going to go find chocolate. Maybe I'll just go to a whole bunch of different restaurants, spend the whole day just going from favorite sweetie place to favorite sweetie place. I'll have a chocolate donut here and a chocolate cake there and a hot chocolate somewhere else with a bit of Drambuie in it. Yeah, I think that sounds like a good chocolate plan, doesn't it? Because on my birthday, that's what happens, chocolate. So, again, I hope all your reading dreams and adventures come true, and that you have a good beginning to your new year. Bye-bye for now.
A little off script there at the end.
You think so?
I I think you were climbing up a mountain and ended up in, I don't know where. It's like, I'm listening and thinking, where is this gonna go? Holy smokes. But you kept yourself amused.
Yes.